Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Happy President's Day. Happy Monday. It's a holiday here in the United States, so banks are closed, but I'm still going. So today we're going to talk a little bit about two important topics as you guys congregate and prepare to ask questions because we'll do a live Q&A on the back of this. The two important topics are teamwork and individual effort, or team effort, individual effort, self-reliance, being a part of a team, being a team player. All of those things are equally important, especially when you are preparing for a job in the tactical professions, because there's no I in team in these jobs. And it really is true that you need both. You need to be able to work well with others, not only physically, but on administrative level. Communications are key up and down the chain, because if you're not communicating your issues to someone above you or below you, they're not going to be able to read your mind. So team effort is key. And when you're in a team, you're trying to create some form of equality, meaning everybody has a job, everybody has a responsibility, everybody's holding themselves and each other accountable for those roles that they are doing, whether it is an event or a long-term mission goal. All of those are going to be important. Where you'll see it, especially in the military training, is when you start doing group events, whether that is you're only as fast as your slowest person in a run, doing stretcher carries, log PT, boats. I will tell you this: logs and boats will make or break a team, 100%. And you don't want to be the broken team, right? That's just poor leadership. It's poor accountability in the group, and it's not fun. It's just a whole lot of extra training whenever you're performing poorly as a team. Now, there's also individual effort, right? Individual effort is that skill that also needs to be developed, because there's going to be a time when it's just you and your thoughts, and when you're cold, it's dark, the day is turned into night, there's no end in sight. You still got to get job done, and you're just working, or you're getting surf tortured at 10 o'clock at night when the day was supposed to be over at 6 p.m. But some reason you're still in the water and you don't see an end in sight. And you got to get up for 4:30 in the morning the next day, so it's going to be a short night. That is when there's nothing you can do but just get tougher and gut it out. Period. That is when your will is tested, and it's all you. Your internal voice matters, right? You need to have an answer for when that voice goes, "Why are you doing this? This really sucks." But you just need to smile and keep on moving. Um, why is this important? Because you need both. Period. And I've seen people who are great team players, but they lack some self-reliance and individual personal self-motivation, self-discipline. When they work well as a team, they're disciplined, each other holding each other accountable. Maybe you need that team aspect, but there's a lot to be said about being able to do stuff on your own and getting all of that done on time, meeting the standard, exceeding the standard, even better, um, and with no issues. But don't be afraid to ask for help, because I guarantee you, no matter what job or event or mission that's going on with with what you need to do, guarantee you there's somebody else in your world that has done it before you. And you can ask for best practices, standard operating procedures, you name it, right? chances are you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And if you do, you definitely need to ask for help, because sometimes if you're burning yourself out and failing and failing and failing, somebody who's been there, done that, or maybe even hasn't, but has a fresh perspective on the task at hand, that may help you come at it at a different angle and have a better solution. So these are just skills that I think are very important for all of us, but especially the young recruits going into the tactical professions. That's why I brought this up. I just wrote this article this morning, but I've had this discussion last week with a couple of guys who are recruits, both on the officer and enlisted side. And I think they needed to hear, um, both of them needed to hear it, because one was good as an individual effort guy, but the other one was good at being a team player and not so good at the individual effort. Kind of lacked a little bit of, like I said, that self reliance, whereas the other guy was almost like Rambo and didn't need anybody's help. So there's two extremes to that, and you gotta figure out where you hold your strengths and weaknesses and start working on it. I've seen people come out, to military training that have had no military training but are the best team players. And they come from all over. They come from sports teams, um, struggling family member who had maybe work after school every day just to help the family pay the bills. That's a strong team if you can do that. You have kids in the band, kids that did acting, right? You talk about teamwork to make things go at a certain time and a certain task needs to be done. All of those folks are really good, um, team players. Now, some folks I have seen that aren't such good team players, believe it or not, wrestlers are probably my favorite, type of candidate to deal with, before going to like spec ops training, as long as I can teach them how to swim. But they're not necessarily the best team players. I've seen some not so good at getting along with others. It's an individual sport. Swimming's very similar. It is a team, but it's an individual effort sport. Sometimes that goes both ways, and it kind of fulfills both needs, but sometimes it doesn't. And it's a little bit of personality too. So you may have to open up your mind and your communication skills so you don't come across as the Rambo, or you don't come across as the guy who can't get things done by themselves. So there's the dilemma. Where are you on that spectrum is what I'm asking you guys. So that's my introduction to today's live Q&A. If you guys have some questions, you can send them. I am going to be writing another article today called the Ask Stu article. So I'm looking for good questions. What's your question? Two, what would you like to see me write about with a little more specificity, if you will? All right, Blake asks, or nope, he just states, took your advice, tried the CSS without the pullout, and went from 819 to 745. Great job. So, once again, now I have seen people flip that around, add the pullout, and are faster. I have seen people take it out and they are faster. So, there is a debate to it. Some people are pretty good at it, some people aren't. But think about the benefits of what you get by taking it out. One, if you're not good at it, you're not losing momentum going from the pull out into the stroke. Two, you're getting an extra breath with that extra stroke. Now you may get over there and let's say 5 strokes plus the pull out stroke, but now it's taking you 5 to 6 strokes to get over there and you got 6 breaths to deal with it. So that's just logical. So if it logically works for you to take it out, take it out. And I will tell you this, it's very similar to the um, kind of generic coaching I do with non-swimming athletes versus swimming athletes. Usually, a non-swimming athlete is not good at the breaststroke kick, frog kick, whatever you want to call it. They're much better, especially if they're running athletes. They're much better at the scissor kick. So I tend to have non-swimming athletes learn the swimming kick and better because a lot of times they don't have the time to really learn how to do the breaststroke kick, whereas swimmers tend to go with whichever one they want to do. 9 times out of 10, they go with the breaststroke kick because they're just good at it. And they're great at the breaststroke pullout and streamlining and everything that comes with swimming. But they also have a weakness as well, which is typically anything in gravity. So running, lifting, even calisthenics to some degree. So got to work on those. Regardless of what your strengths and athletic history are, there's usually a corresponding weakness that opposes them. It's the thing that you just ignored for a decade. All right. So, what kind of standards would you like to see the average adult citizen meet fitness wise? Thinking more from a general preparedness competence view. You know what? I would start with blood work health numbers. Let's get those blood work health numbers in the healthy zone. That means sugar, blood sugar, cholesterols, triglycerides, you name it. There's a whole bunch of other creatinine levels. What else? Potassium, just all of it. Just get a full panel and let's just see where your red and green lights show up on those tests. That's first. And then go see a doctor every year to just see how well your programming is helping you do that. And your food planning is helping you get better numbers every year. Blood pressure, there's another one. Um, so that'd probably be number one. I tend to, I'm 55. I tend to now focus more on PRing my blood work and annual physical. So that is kind of my little personal self discipline and uh, competition goal that I tend to have, and focusing everything on body weight, blood pressure, triglycerides, cholesterols, make sure those are all within healthy standards. And that comes down to exercise, eating right, sleeping well, trying to find ways to de stress throughout the day, um, going on walks, breathing deep. All of those things can help you be generally healthier. Now, on a fitness performance wise thing, it's going to vary. If you can't run, I would say be able to swim or bike um, a certain distance at a certain time, right? So let's say run or walk, a 10-minute mile, right? You might have to run a little to get that. Um, Personally, 8-minute miles are probably not out of the ballpark for most people as long as they run regularly. A pull up, especially for women. The average number of pull ups for women is 0. Now, if you can get one, that puts you in the top 5% of women in upper body strength. Just the fact that you can get one pull up. Men, very similar. A lot of men are overweight for their height, and doing any pull up is really challenging. So, the goal here would be to lose weight, get stronger, be able to pull yourself over your bar, push yourself off the ground, and push-ups. Something I like to do, especially with older folks, is to do a toe touch, walk it out into a push-up position, do a push-up, walk it back up to a standing position. that is a really good test of just your ability to get up off the floor and stand up. Falling on the floor as we age is a potential disaster depending on your activity levels. So there's so many things when you talk about general preparedness and competency view, because I look at it as general health and wellness. But you could also look at it as athletic performance. There should still be standards, whether that is the big three: bench press, squat, and deadlift. Should you be able to do those still? Yes. Does it have to be world class for your age? No, it doesn't. Just be able to do them. The fact that you're doing them is going to help you so much versus the fact you're not doing them at a super high level. Just doing them puts you in a new category of health and wellness and competency, in my opinion. That's a great question. I may go off on that one. I'm going to write that one down. So thank you, Noah. Great question. I think I may run with that. What do you think you recommend for guys training for spec ops to do when they don't have a group around them to work out with and do teamwork exercises? What is a way to be better team player without a group? Well, my advice is try to get a buddy to join you for a couple of things. Now, when I was training for spec ops, none of my buddies back home wanted to do what I was doing. However, I had a friend of mine that liked to run, so I ran with him. And I had a friend of mine who was a great swimmer. I'd meet him at the pool at a set time. We'd go swimming. He'd kill me in swimming, but I got better at swimming because of him. And then I had a buddy that liked to lift and do calisthenics, and we did that. And a lot of times I would arrange them in such a way where I could get all three of them done during the day, depending on their schedule, and then meet them at night and we all go hang out. So it was a fun way to do stuff with your buddies. So you may not find everybody likes to do everything that is needed to be a spec ops candidate, but you may find some that are really good at events that you need to get better at. So consider that. I think that's a great way to do it, especially if you can find someone who's better at you than something. So that's an option. Um, let's see. No questions here. I really do that. I'm going to cut and paste this one, Noah. That's a good one. Kind of standards would you like to set average adult citizen? Good job. So there's one other thing too when you talk about individual effort. Is there's going to be a time in your training, especially if you're going into a spec ops training world? And I've written an article about this one. This is a good one. Um, um, is there's going to be a time when you cannot get faster, you cannot get stronger, cannot get smarter on anything. And there's only one thing that you can do in, let's say, a week-long period before you start a spec ops training program, for instance, is all you can really do is get tougher. Because there's going to be events that are going to push your current abilities. That's kind of the goal of spec ops training, is to push your perceived limitations and beyond, to push your current abilities, to make you fail, see how you handle failure, and if you're able to still meet a standard within that range of failing or not failing. So, yes, it is an element of getting tougher, but is also there's some strategy behind higher performance when you think you may be not performing well. And that really goes back to two things that can crush your performance long before any of your training will, and that is food, lack of blood sugar and carbohydrates, glycogen in your body for immediate energy, and water. Being dehydrated makes you a heat casualty, risk out there in training, and you could die from heat stroke if it's not handled. So hydration, electrolytes, especially if you're sweating profusely, and fueling are three things right there that as an individual and as a team player to remind your team to keep hydrating, add electrolytes whenever you have a moment to do that, just so you don't disappoint the team and somebody else in your team doesn't disappoint. Or, if it's an individual effort, you actually perform at your best versus bonking and dropping your performance by 50% almost. Tom agrees. Noah, thank you. Appreciate that. So, another thing, too, is whether you're a team or an individual, is knowing when to ask for help. And I think I talked a little bit about this, that, there's a chances are you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but this is not a sign of weakness when you ask for help. It's actually, if you really think about it, it is showing I acknowledge my limitations. I acknowledge that if I continue down this road, I am just going to be beating my head against a wall and continuing to come up with the wrong answer or wrong uh, standard. So I may need to ask for help with what's the best way to do this. What are the techniques that you do it? And I take probably my first experience in the military was an absolute failure. And I've told this story a few times. It was a sit up test, and I failed my first fitness test in the military um, as a midshipman at the Naval Academy, plebe summer. And I had a 2-minute fitness test, a 2-minute sit up test that had to get 65 to pass. And I did 40 in the first 30 seconds. So I was rolling. But by the time I got to 45, I could barely get myself up, right? I was laying down mostly, trying to get up. I couldn't even rest in the up position. I was so burned out. And I think I finished with 59 or 60, somewhere in that range. So I missed it. So I got 40 in the first 30 seconds, and I couldn't get 40 in the next minute and a half. So what's that tell you? I say it all the time. I started off too fast. And that's what somebody told me. Somebody gave me this information right afterwards and says, you need to go a little slower, pace yourself. Like, okay, cool. And I did. The next time I wound up getting 80 without even practicing sit-ups. Not the same day, but a week later, I think it was, or maybe 10 days later, and just paced myself and got 80. So that was one of those times where I would have maybe gotten better at sit-ups, maybe not that quickly, but just somebody giving me a little bit of information that I did not know that they knew. Maybe they experienced the same thing along their journey. That's why I share it with you, because I know it happens, because it just happened with a guy that tested the other day on a PST. And I said, have you not read my PST clinic? You got to read that. In fact, I came up with a whole new course. I'm coming up with 3 phases of tactical fitness. Phase 1, getting to the training, focusing on different fitness tests in that phase 1 world. Phase 2, getting through the training, picking a specific spec op selection, police academy, all that, and discussing all those in this series of getting through the training, phase 2 of tactical fitness. And then phase 3, the active duty military member, what that, or law enforcement and firefighter, what does that mean, to be able to stay within physical standards to be able to do your job. And that really depends on what that job is. Might be a fitness test as well, every 6 months, depending on what job or branch of service you're in and, tactical role you're playing. So all of that is very important and when you understand the phases of fitness. And I'm coming up with a series of mini courses that aren't quite like this. They're just more specific, because when I'm answering questions, I'm taking questions from all over versus just focusing on one topic and just hammering it out, showing videos of proper technique, discussing that technique, talking about the strategies to crushing those tests and the preparation and programming it takes to, get through the training, depending on what training that is. So, looking forward to making these. I already got two made, and probably will have those up before this month is out. So, we shall see. And yes, I'm still working on that 50 and older book too. So, before Linda yells at me, yes, I'm working on that older book too. Got some new ideas for it. All right, let's see. Did the push-up protocol went from 25 to 33. I'll do it again. I be honest with you, I wouldn't do it again. That's not a really good improvement. Something went wrong. Maybe you weren't pushing yourself in the day-to-day reps. Like, it's great that if you can do sets of 20 all day, but you really need to push 30, 40, try and just keep going. Stay in that up position until you get a certain, you know, burnout level, because you're trying to work on your endurance, muscle stamina. You got to push those levels. I mean, lots of small sets is one way to do it, but sometimes it's not the only way to get you over the top when you're stuck at, you know, 25 push-ups. So, my advice would be to do push-ups 3 days a week. In fact, I would do them in these three workouts. If you've ever seen the classic PST week workout, it has everything in it that you need to crush a PST, along with um, these push-ups that are going to help you, help you get off of that little plateau that you've created for yourself. But if you would, Eureka, email me and give me more insight on your situation. Like, are you new to fitness? Is this training for a particular goal? Um, what is it? But there's no reason why somebody in their 20s can't be in their high 40s, even 50s in 2 weeks if doing this. I've seen countless people double their push-ups when they're that low. Now, if you're 50, very hard to see double your effort in 2 weeks to get to 100. I've seen it, believe it or not. Um, Only a few times though. Most of the time it's like 50 to 80 or something like that. But that's still a good percentage. You're still looking at 50% increases, whereas yours is, what's that, 25% increase, which isn't horrible, but just not that great. 30% increase, 25 to 33. So once again, it's actually not that bad. Could be better though. All right, you guys have any more questions for me? If you got them, send them. I didn't hook up on the Instagram today. Um, I'll do that tomorrow on the CSS critiques, but we'll do CSS critiques tomorrow. I got a little bit of a head cold going on where my throat's really scratchy and sinus drainage. So I think I need to cut it short because I feel the need to sneeze and cough right now. Um, Still got a workout done though, but though I took it a little easy. We were running sprints. So instead of running sprints, I just jogged. And when they were jogging, I walked and did some stairs. Yeah, I am sick. I'm not feeling 100%. So, stuff, it's not horrible. It's right here. So, what does that mean with your workouts? You don't need, I got vitamin D. Just took it. Um, what does that mean? Get blood work. Good one. I just did. Um, I have a head cold. It's not that big a deal. Come on, man. Come on, Dan. You're preaching to the choir. I just did all that with my annual checkup. It's fine. I have a head cold from here on up. So just I don't even know. It might be allergies. I doubt it. It's probably just a head cold, sinus related, sinus drainage. But what does that mean when it comes to working out? Just sometimes you have to scale back just a little bit. So one thing I'm trying to avoid is coughing, because coughing, you know, eventually will turn into kind of a bronchitis. Um, for me, especially if I aggravate it much more. So I try to keep my heart rate down so I don't get it up to a level to where I just start coughing. So, like I said, a jog turned into a walk, a sprint turned into a jog. Instead of running up and down stairs, I just walked up and down stairs, did a lot of stretching. So, took it easy today, wound up walking, I don't know, probably about 5 miles instead of running 5 miles. So it was a little longer of a morning. Cold, 25 degrees. So definitely didn't want to breathe too hard. Um, Eric asked, what's my push up protocol? It's called the push up push, but it's a free 2 week protocol for pull ups, push ups, and sit ups. If you read this article, Eric, you will see what that is. Now, I will say this, if this thing gets into my chest, that really sucks, because that's when I have to throw down, like, some of the intensity has to really drop down. Um, and if you get a fever with it, just avoid working out in front of people and just do something on your own. Usually I turn it into a mobility day where I get like 5 minutes of cardio followed by 5 minutes of stretching. But I may also do a little bit of some dumbbell work just to get some resistance training, get a little pump in there, just so I feel like I did something, but I'm not overdoing it to a point where I'm feeling worse. There's there's nothing out there that says you can run it off, sweat it off, and make it. You may feel better after a little workout. I know I always do, but sometimes you just gotta figure out what you need to do to adjust your workouts. Now, my head cold, not a big deal. I can definitely get into lifting like I always do. So lift a little heavier, even do high rep calisthenics. It's just the cardio has to be shifted down for me. Otherwise, I just start coughing. So there you go. For the citizens who can enlist and try out for Spec Ops selections but choose not to, does the military have a recruiting crisis within these areas? Do we need guys every year trying out? Well, you need every guy's trying out. Is it a recruiting crisis? Well, here's something kind of funny. I actually just got back from a recruiting district all hands meeting here in Philadelphia, or up in Philadelphia. Check out this, what they gave me. So, first of all, they met 100% of their um, quotas, if you want to call it, like goals for the last quarter. So, that's a good sign. People are joining up at a regular basis. And they're doing it with 50% manning. So you show me an entity out there that can have 100% reaching their goals with 50% of the people doing it. That's pretty impressive. Now they're a little bit overworked, but I will say, but they sent me this. So I got this blue and gold baseball bat, and they gave it to me called the Philadelphia Heavy Hitter Award, and it's just me for volunteering coaching all these guys from the commanding officer and senior chiefs and yeah. So I was very proud of this one. I'd been working out coaching people for free in this area for over 20 years and to be able to constantly see year after year Philadelphia recruiting district and the Richmond recruiting district which are kind of, I'm right in the middle of both of them. They go neck and neck for most um, spec ops candidates produced. So that's kind of fun. So, does the military have recruiting crisis within these areas? I don't think so. Not from what I've seen. And the really reason why they have a recruiting crisis is not because of anything that you would think overtly, right? It's not because of people hate politics and they hate whether they're Democratic or Republican. It's not because of either one of those. It is because of the severity of selection that they have added this new Genesis program that has been knocking out people who want to join. And it's because they get access to their pharmaceutical history and they can see and medical history, they can see what their, you know, candidates are lying about and trying to not talk about ADHD medication or asthma or, brain tumor, cancer, all these things that they're just saying, nope, I'm good, when they're signing these paperwork at the beginning. So that has been knocking out a significant amount of people who want to join. In fact, I had one recruiter tell me that they had 30 people in their office, like getting ready to uh, go to MEPS, right? Or trying to get to MEPS. But before they even could get to MEPS, Genesis flagged 27 of them. So is that causing the recruiting crisis? I would say so. If you got 30 people that are wanting to join, but you can only take 3. So everybody talks about the recruiting crisis like it's the people wanting to join. It's actually the medical screening is probably the biggest problem of our recruiting crisis than any of the other. I tried to overpower through COVID infection and ended up with this. Oh, not sure what MCAS is. Make sure you take it easy. Yeah, you know what? I got lucky with COVID. I had COVID in 2021, January. Felt similar to this, be honest with you. Felt like I had allergies going on in January, which made no sense. I may do a COVID test. But I mean, it didn't really affect me. I did keep my cardio down a little bit though, but just because with the respiratory significance of that illness, that can definitely mess you up. But I was shoveling snow with COVID, so it didn't put me under at all. I just took it easy. Economy down, recruiting is up. That's typical. It is a cool bat. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? I've been doing this for over 20 years, and this is the first time they have publicly recognized me. And I wasn't looking for recognition, but it was just nice that they did that. They didn't need to do that. I wasn't expecting it. I don't do it because I'm looking for awards. Um, I do it because I see a need. I want to give back, and if I'm going to write about coaching, I should be coaching often, and I coach every day, right? So um, I can continue writing about it, I think, if I'm doing it every day. I work on a farm and we are in harvest now. So we have a lot of physical work there. Maybe my numbers didn't go well because of that. I'm working 12 hours a day. Oh, yeah. I would definitely say that was it. It was the second reinfection that ruined me. Gotcha. Well, hopefully that's all it is. Just a little weird little head cold. We'll see. You guys will look at me tomorrow and tell me if I look worse. You know, or better. Let's say that. So, you guys got any more questions? I am going to get ready to go. Um, Here's a little note down here at the bottom. If I did miss your question, just go ahead and send it to me if you think of a question later. Stu@stewsmith.com. Right here, Stu@stewsmith.com. And check out StuSmithFitness.com. Tons of articles over there. There's programming over there. And if you want to buy something, you can save 15% with Live15 coupon code down there at purchase. And send me some CSS videos and we will critique them if you have them. If not, we'll continue to show them what I have. All right. So Brad says he has one more. Sleep and nutrition are key. Yes, I would agree. 100%. That's probably 90% of my coverage will be sleep and nutrition. Brad, if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. Thanks for the explanation. I'm guessing if this GENIS program is out there now during a war, it would be omitted for a certain degree. Probably. You still have a great ethos towards giving back. Kudos to you. Thanks for that's cool, man. Thank you. Eat some steak too. I got steak ready to go. Um, if I have to cut a workout short due to work life loss of time, how do I prioritize what I cut and do I pick where I left off the next day? No, I wouldn't do that. So back half of that question, I wouldn't do that, but you could bump it to the right a day or two, depending on, if you have time that next day to do it. So I would say this: if you're going to drop something you're already good at doing. Um, so if you have a weakness in swimming or running, don't skip that. Right? If you have a weakness in lifting, don't skip that. Right? You have weakness in push-ups, don't skip those. Right? And whatever you're good at, just bump it over to the right to the next column. Maybe on that day you'll have some time to do it, but it has to make sense too. I don't want you like doing a whole bunch of upper body calisthenics and then there's a little lift on the back end of it of upper body and you bump it to the next day. It's not what I want to do. So put it to another upper body day if you can. So just be smart with what you bump to the right so you're not doing multiple days in a row of the same muscle groups and not ever able to recover. So my advice would be to probably bump the cardio because that can kind of fit anywhere. And typically, what takes the most time. So pick your cardio, which one you want to bump to the right, and then it really doesn't affect your resistance training issues. So that's a good question too. In fact, I like that one. I may have two questions to write about. So good job, Brad. All right, folks, that's it for me. I will be back tomorrow. I appreciate your time. Great questions. And, have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.